Colters Nationalpark, USA. Video. Author D. Selzer-McKenzie. One of the most venerable old axioms of fur trade history is that of Colters Hell, which may be formulated thus: after John Colter discovered what is now Yellowstone National Park, he told others of the scenic wonders there. No one believed him, and his listeners derisively dubbed the imaginary place Colters Hell. No item of Yellowstone history is more widely believed, more universally beloved, and more transparently incorrect. There was a Colters Hell in the fur trapper's lexicon, which referred specifically to an ancient thermal area bordering the Shoshone River just west of present Cody, Wyoming. The term was never applied historically to the thermal zone within Yellowstone Park itself. It was Hiram M. Chittenden, the esteemed engineer and historian, who first suggested this usage in 1895 with the original edition of his book, Yellowstone National Park. The earliest published reference to Colters Hell is in Washington Irving's version of Captain Benjamin L. E. Bonneviller's journal narrating events from 1832 to 1835. However, note here that this volcanic tract, with its gloomy terrors, its hidden fires, smoking pits, noxious streams, and the all-pervading smell of brimstone neck, was located, according to Irving, not on the headwaters of the Yellowstone but on the Shoshone, or the Stinking River, or the Stinking Water, originally named on the Clark map. It was Chittenden in 1895 and not Irving in 1837 who started the legend by asserting vaguely that the region of left square bracket Colters right square bracket adventures was long derisively known as Colters Hell, implying that by region he meant Yellowstone Park, the subject of his book. He does not accuse Bonneville or Irving of error, perforce conceding that this name early came to be restricted to the locality where Colter discovered the tar spring on the Stinking Water, but he hopefully guesses that Colter's description, so well summed up by Irving, undoubtedly referred in large part to what he saw in the Yellowstone and Snake River valleys. This is where the misconception got started. It is significant that no historian prior to Chittenden entertained this misconception. For example, in 1890 Hubert H. Bancroft wrote, "Far east of left square bracket the volcanic basins on the upper Madison right square bracket, on the Stinking Water Fork, is Colters Hell, where similar phenomenon is exhibited on a lesser scale." It is further significant that in his monumental American Fur Trade of the Far West, the first edition of which appeared in 1902, 7 years after the first edition of Yellowstone, Chittenden wrote that Colter was the first to pass through the singular region which has since become known throughout the world as the Yellowstone Wonderland. He also saw the immense tar spring at the forks of Stinking Water River, a spot which came to bear the name of Colters Hell. This is his only reference here to the term, which is a clear if tacit admission that he was in error in the first instance to create the impression that it ever applied contemporaneously to Yellowstone Park. But the impression once created would not down. Like Aladdin's wonderful lamp, the genie was out of the bottle, and the poetic version of Colters Hell has become a stock item in Western literature. Defenders of the Colters Hell mythology are eager to challenge Washington Irving as an authority. True, Irving's Captain Bonneville by his own admission never personally saw the Yellowstone Park area. Also, it is true that geysers are not to be seen today along the Shoshone River. Hence it might be reasoned that the only noteworthy thermal activity in 1807 was likewise confined to the Yellowstone, more particularly to the Upper Madison, and that Bonneville was merely reporting a twisted rumor. But a cold examination of the facts shows that Irving and Bonneville were correct. First, there is no good reason to question Bonneville's geographical knowledge. While he never saw it himself, Bonneville had quite a crew circulating through the future park as early as 1833 and, in fact, there is reason to believe that the Great Geyser Basin of Ferrel River, climaxed by Old Faithful, was discovered that year by one of his own lieutenants. See Chapter 7. Secondly, although there are no phenomena readily apparent to passing motorists at the bona fide and unmarked Colters Hell site just west of Cody, the evidence of thermal activity, not entirely extinct now, is abundantly evident to anyone who cares to pause en route to or from Yellowstone's East Gate. On the canyon rim downstream from the rocky defile enclosing the Buffalo Bill Dam, there are extinct geyser cones up to 30 feet in height and an extensive crust to fragile center. In the canyon floor itself there are bubbling fountains in the riverbed, and the same pervasive smell of rotten eggs, or more scientifically, sulfur dioxide, which assails one's nostrils on the upper Ferrel Hill. Other related hot springs once existed at the forks of the Shoshone, now drowned beneath the reservoir. How very strange that this spot, quite evidently the boiling spring of Colter's famous route on the William Clark map of 1810, has been largely ignored since 1895. Campfire writers and lecturers have been so enchanted by the Yellowstone wonderland, they never gave thought to this historical geological feature 50 miles outside of the park boundary. Thirdly, Bonneville wasn't the only one who knew about the phenomenon on the Stinking Water. The true identity of Colters Hell was well understood by other mountain men. In 1829 Joe Meek knew all about steam vents on the Yellowstone Plains, but he also was familiar with a volcanic tract on Stinking Fork, previously seen by one of Lewis and Clark's men, named Colter, while on a solitary hunt, and by him also denominated Hell. Single quote, in 1852 the famed missionary explorer, Father Desmit, cited Captain Bridger as the source of his information that, near the source of the River Pawand, which empties into the Big Horn, is a place called Colters Hell from a beaver hunter of that name. This locality is often agitated with subterranean fires. Stallo Vinton, early Colter biographer and editor of the 1935 edition of Chittenden's American Fur Trade, paid no attention to Chittenden's footnoted correction of 1902. Rather, he did more than anyone, perhaps, to exterminate the true Colters Hell and pin the name on the national park. He accuses Irving of a substantial error in locating Hell on the Stinking River. Similarly, he ignores Joe Meek's careful distinction between the Yellowstone and Shoshone volcanic tracts. In 1863 Walter Washington Delassie accompanied a party of Montana gold seekers through the Yellowstone Park area. Although his companions were too absorbed in the search for the precious metal to pay any attention to the scenic wonders, Delassie, a surveyor by trade, did pay attention and subsequently published a crude but illuminating map of the park region. Here the principal geyser basin on Ferrel River is called Hot Springs Valley, and far to the east, near the forks of the Shoshone is a hot spring, Colters Hill. Left square bracket sic right square bracket in 1867 the official map of the Interior Department, by Keeler, apparently reproducing Delassie's data, also indicates a hot spring, Colters Hill. Left square bracket sic right square bracket so the federal government, at this early date, gave this official recognition to the clear distinction between the two thermal areas. Vinton refers to the Delassie and Keeler maps, but he dismisses this further evidence as a mistake. Perhaps his stubborn version of Colters Hell would have collapsed if he had seen the recently discovered Bridger Smith map of 1851, in the Office of Indian Affairs. Here Bridger also clearly distinguishes between Sulphur Spring or Colters Hell volcano, on Stinking Fork and an entirely different, great volcanic region in state of eruption, drained by Ferrel River. See Chapter 8. Can we invoke any higher authority than Jim Bridger?